This is what we are going to build in this project. We will extract data from Twitter. We will use Python to extract data and transform it. Then we will deploy our code onto Airflow that will be on EC2 machine that is available on Amazon Web Service. And at the end, we will store our data onto Amazon S3, that is an object storage. A lot of things to do here and we will do everything step by step. I will divide this video into 3 different sections. So in the first section, we will talk about the prerequisite required for this particular project. In the second section, we will talk about some of the basic concept needed for this particular project. So we will understand the basics of Airflow and some other things. And in the third section, we will do the actual execution of the project. So a lot of cool things to do in this particular project. And before actually beginning this project, I just want to say if you are new here, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you do learn something from this particular video, so make sure you hit the like button. That will help my channel to grow and reach more and more people. So without wasting time, let's get started. Let's start this particular project by understanding the basic prerequisite you need. Number one thing is you need one laptop and internet connection. It doesn't matter what kind of laptop you have because we will be working on 2 EC2 machines. So it doesn't matter if you don't have the high-end laptop, you can still do this particular project. Second thing is you will have to install Python in your local computer. Anything about 3.5 version works fine. So it doesn't matter what version you have, as long as it is more than 3.5. If you don't have Python installed, then I will put the tutorial link in the description so you can check that out and install it. You also need to know the basics of Python because in this particular tutorial, we will mainly focus on the Airflow part. I will not go deep dive into Python. So make sure you have the basic understanding of the Python. And at the end, you also need the AWS account. You can easily create your AWS account for free. You just have to go to AWS website and fill some of the information. AWS offers a free trial for 12 months, so you can create your account there. I will also put the tutorial link in the description. So if you don't know how to create AWS account, you can watch that. And lastly, you need discipline to work on this particular project. Whenever you start learning something, it is going to be difficult at the initial stage. You will face a lot of different errors while working on this particular project. I'm 100% sure you will face errors while executing this particular project. So first you need to believe in yourself that you can actually do this particular project. And if you get stuck on some kind of error, then you have Google Stack Overflow to research on your errors. And if you still can't solve the error, then you can join the Discord channel. I will put the link in the description and you can ask your question over there. So now let's try to go a little bit deeper into our architecture diagram. First is extracting data from the Twitter. It is pretty easy. Twitter provides API to do all of these things. So we just need to sign up on Twitter and we can get the API credentials. So first part is pretty easy. To extract data from the Twitter, we have the package inside the Python that is called as tweepy or tweepy. We can use this particular package to extract data from the Twitter. We will also use package called as a pandas to work with the data and transform those data and store it somewhere. And then at the end, we will deploy that particular code onto Airflow. So now let's try to understand the basic concept of Airflow before actually executing this entire project. Apache Airflow is an open source workflow management platform for data engineering pipelines. It was developed at Airbnb. They were using this platform to manage their workflow and data engineering tasks. Airflow joined Apache Incubator and became open source, so now everyone can use this. In easier terms, Airflow is a workflow orchestration tool. You can build, schedule, and monitor data pipelines. Workflow basically means the sequence of every task. In the Airflow, it is defined as directed or cyclic graph. These individual numbers are called as tasks. A task is basically a unit of operation you want to perform. So if you want to extract data from the API, it becomes one task. If you want to transform that data, that becomes another task. And lastly, if you want to store that data somewhere, that becomes third task. This sequence of operation is called as DAG, directed acyclic graph. A DAG contains multiple tasks that does some work. So in basic terms, Airflow is a workflow orchestration tool. It contains multiple DAGs and one DAG can contain multiple tasks. Task is basically the unit of operation we will be doing. So extracting data from the Twitter, transforming that data and storing that particular data somewhere. Now these different tasks can be easily built using operators. Operators are like the predefined template you can use to create tasks. Operators actually define what happens inside the individual task. There are many different operators available in the Airflow, such as bash operator if you want to run bash command, Python operators if you want to run Python code, or you can create your own operators. So instead of just focusing on the theoretical concept, let's go to the Airflow console and start looking at what it looks like. So this is what the Airflow UI actually looks like. You have the DAGs. These are the example DAGs that Airflow provides. So when you install the Airflow, you will get these. Then we have all the other information. So let's look at one of the DAG in this particular example. Let me just click onto this example task group and you can see a lot of things over here. So if you want to get the code, you can click on the code. So if you want to see the graphical representation of this particular DAG, then you can click onto the graph and it will give you different tasks available in this particular DAG. So this entire thing is called as a DAG. These individual things are called as a task. So let's look at the DAG that we will be creating in this particular project. So this is what the basic DAG looks like in your Airflow. Now don't worry about writing this particular code because we will be writing this particular code in the actual execution section. So just try to understand what I'm trying to say in this particular section. So we are installing some of the datetime function that is available in Python. So if you want to define the DAG, then you need to import the DAG function from the Airflow package. So we will be using Python operators because we will be calling the Python function, and then we have some other important packages. Now we will be defining some of the default arguments. So arguments are basically if you want to define the owner. So if you are working in a team and if you want to make sure that who wrote this particular DAG, you can keep track of it. If you want to create a dependency, so if you want to run this particular task, once the another task completes, then you can keep this as true. But in our case, we will have only one DAG, so you don't really need to worry about it. Then we also have the start date, some email. If you want to get the email notification on the failure or retry, you can also define the different retries. So if your pipeline fails for some reason and if you want to reinitiate it, so you can define the retry. And if you want to understand these arguments, you can go to the Airflow documentation, Airflow docs, and you can learn more about these things. So if you want to understand these things like how DAG runs and how these default arguments are built, you can go to the Airflow documentation and learn more about it easier. So this is the basic DAG. So we already imported this particular DAG. This contains 3 arguments. One is the DAG name, so it can be anything. I can write my name over here, but you should write the logical name. Second is the argument that we written over here. So you just have to provide the default arguments that you mentioned, and then if you want to define some kind of description, you can also do that. After that, we will be using Python operator. This is really important because we will be calling some kind of Python functions in this particular operator. So task ID is again up to you, whatever the name you want to keep. Always try to keep the logical name. Then we have the Python callable. This is where you actually provide the function. So we imported this particular function from the another file. We will look this particular thing in the actual execution part, but just try to understand. So there is one function. We imported this particular function into this particular script and we are calling it using the Python operator. And then we also need to provide the DAG and just write this particular operator name at the below to run this particular DAG. Now all of these things are really basic. I've tried to keep these things as simple as possible at the beginner level. Now if you want to go deep into this level, I will create more tutorials in the future, but this particular project is for very beginner people. So we will write this particular code, everything by ourselves. So don't worry about writing or understanding this particular code right now, because in the next section, you will do the entire execution step by step. So all of these things will make sense when you actually try to execute it by yourself. So don't get scared if you don't understand anything. Everything will make sense when you actually start doing hands-on practice. So now let's jump onto the actual project. First step in this project is to get access to the Twitter API. In this case, all you need to do is go on to Google, or I'll provide the link in the description, Twitter API, and you'll get the first link. You can go over here. So all you need is one Twitter account. So if you don't have one, you need to create one. And once you have your Twitter account created, you can just directly click over here, sign up your Twitter account, and you can get the access to the dashboard. So this is what it looks like. So over here, you will be creating an application. So click on to add app. Click on to create new. In this case, we will select the development. So just click on that. Go to next and just give your name like ETL Airflow project. In this case, I will write the YT because it's the YouTube project. Okay. Click on next and this will give you 2 keys. One is your API key and second is your API secret key. So make sure you copy this key and save it somewhere because you won't be able to see them again. So this is really important to save it. So just save it somewhere. Let me just save this particular thing onto my PC. So make sure you save your API key and the API secret key. I will revoke the access to these APIs after I complete the tutorial. So don't worry about getting leaked, but make sure you create your own API key and a secret key. After that, all you need to do is go again, click on the dashboard. You will be able to see your application over here. Click on to app setting and you can just go to keys and tokens. Here you need to generate the token, the consumer token you will be needing to access the Twitter API. So click on to generate over here. So over here you will be able to see your API key that you created earlier and also the access token that we will be also be needing to access the Twitter API. So make sure you copy these two values also because we will be needing them. So after you get your own API key and the secret key, then it is time to start writing the code and get the data from the Twitter API. So for that, we will be writing our code into Python as we already discussed. So for that, you will need to create one folder. So in my documents, I will be creating one folder, Airflow project, and I will save all of my files over here. So you can use any editor, whatever you are comfortable with. I will be using Visual Studio Code to write my Python code, and you can just start writing the code over here. So first we will be storing our file into our Airflow project. The first the file name will be twitter underscore etl.py, because we will be accessing data from the Twitter and also doing some kind of basic ETL, which is extract, transform, load in this case. So we will start writing code. Now before actually start writing code, you need to make sure you have some of the packages installed in your PC. So you can open the terminal if you are using Windows, so you can use the command prompt. So let me just open this. So in this case, I'm using Python 3, so I'm going to use pip3 install because I have my version set up like that. But if you have installed Python, you can directly write pip or pip3, whatever works for you. Just try both. If pip doesn't work for you, try pip3. Okay, so pip3 install pandas, because we'll be working with the data frame. So make sure you have the pandas installed. I already have it installed because I already worked on this particular project. Then you need to install pip3 tweepy or tweepy, whatever you call. So this is the package we will be using to access the Twitter data. So this is how you write it: pip install or pip3 install, whatever works for you. And at the end, we also need one more package, which is basically S3FS. S3FS is used to store, read or write data from the S3 bucket. So just make sure you install that. Once you install them, then you are good to go and start writing the code. So first we'll be importing some of the packages. Now I assume that you already have the basic understanding of Python, because this is not the Python tutorial. This is more advanced little bit tutorial for Airflow and all the other things. So make sure you have the Python version installed. So this is how you import the packages inside the Python. So after that, you need to copy the access key and the secret key like this. So put your access key and the secret key, the first access key and the secret key you copied, and then the token that we copied after that. So make sure you put your access key and secret key like this. Again, don't worry about these keys to be leaked, because I will revoke the access after completing this tutorial. So don't worry about getting leaked. Make sure you create your own access key and a secret key to access your own data. Then once you have these access key, we will be using some of the functions available inside the tweepy package to do the authentication, because the first step is to create the connection between your current code and the Twitter API. So that is the first step, and we will be doing that right now. So for authentication and authorization, there is a function called as OAuth handler. This is available into tweepy API. So you can just provide your access key and the secret key, and then also set the token. This is basically the consumer key you provided. This will create the connection between your code and the Twitter API, so that you can easily access the data from the Twitter. Now once you have that, you can create the object of this authentication. So that is pretty simple. Just write tweepy.api and auth. Now if you want to understand more about these APIs and the function, there is a documentation available. So all you need to do is Google the tweepy documentation, and you can go to this website and understand more about the API function, how it works. But I don't want to waste your time going into details. In this particular project, we want to focus on the execution side, so that once you execute it, you will understand it much better, right? So understanding about these functions, the detailed functionality, documentation is available already. The informations are available. So let's not repeat those things. So now after you create the object, the creating the object is basically now you can access the function inside the tweepy API and call whatever you want. So if you want to get the information about that particular user and the timeline information, there is a function available inside the tweepy API that is called as a user timeline. So this is basically API.user timeline, and we can pass some parameters. So the first parameter is screen name. Screen name is basically the username you want to extract data from. So in this case, we'll be using Elon Musk. You can also write your own username or someone else's. So in this case, if I want to write Parmar07, this is my Twitter username, I will get the data from my Twitter account. So this is the screen name. Then the count is basically how many tweets you want to extract from that particular timeline. So there might be like thousands of tweets available, but I just want to extract 200 right now. Then include artist is basically the retweets onto the Twitter. So if Elon Musk retweets someone else's tweet, if you want to extract that also, you can keep it true, but in this case we will keep it as false because we don't want retweets. And tweet mode is extended. Again, this is if you want the entire tweet text, you can keep it extended, but there are other parameters also you can explore into the Twitter API. So this is the basic version. So after writing this particular code, you should be able to extract data from the Twitter API. Now that is pretty simple. If you want to test whether your code is working or the authentication process is good or not, you can go print and just write the tweets over here, tweets, and let me just open the terminal. Inside the terminal, go to your the folder where your file is stored. So in my case, it is the document and then Airflow project. Okay, I will just change my directory, and as you can see, I have this particular project. Now I can run my code as Python 3. You can use Python and Twitter ETL. In my case, I have installed Python 3 version into some different paths, so I'm just using the Python 3, but again you can try both of the things and just run this particular code. And let's see. So as you can see, we get a lot of data. As you can see, we have like a lot of tweets available, and this is the JSON data. So we are not able to actually understand it because it has a lot of different information. It has like the image URL, the date when the tweet was sent, and a lot of other parameter information also. So this particular output tells us that our connection with the Twitter is successful. So now we found out that we can easily extract data from the Twitter API. Now what we want to do, we want to transform this data into proper structure and save it onto our local disk for now. In the case, we will be storing into the S3 afterwards, but for currently, we just want to transform this JSON data and store this particular tweet information into proper data frame. So for that, I already written the code. If you understand the basic Python, it is pretty simple to understand. What we are doing is we are looping through each and every individual tweet, and we are just extracting data from that particular tweet. So if you want to extract the information about the username, you can just write tweet.user.screenname. This is inside the JSON file nested. So this is basically inside the tweet. There will be the curly braces inside the user, and you can access the screen name. Same, this is the text. This is where we are extracting the actual tweet. Then you can extract the how many people liked the tweet and how many people retweeted the tweet and when was the tweet actually created. Then this entire dictionary is being appended into the list, and then what we need to do, we just need to write this file. So for that, I'm just going to write pd.data frame. This will create the data frame, and you can just provide this particular list over here. And I just want to store this file onto my local bucket. So local file. So df does data frame dot to csv. This is the function available into pandas, and let's just write something Elon Musk Twitter data dot csv. So Elon Musk Twitter data CSV, and just save it, and let's just try to run our code again and let's see what we get. Let me just clear this, and there you go. Let's hope we don't get any error. Okay, our code ran successfully. Let's go to our folder, and as we can see, we're getting some data onto the CSV file. So we were able to extract our data. As you can see, okay, we have the user Elon Musk, we have text. So these are the each and individual text Elon Musk has tweeted into last hour. So as you can see, we are getting a lot of different tweets. So around 192 current in the case, so he might have tweeted that, and the Twitter API was able to extract it. But as you can also see the favorite count, this is the like count, and the how many people retweeted it when he actually tweeted this particular tweet. So a lot of information we were able to extract easily. So this is the first step. Okay, so if you are able to do that, then congratulations, the first step is complete. We were actually able to extract the data from the Twitter. Now we have our ETL script ready, that is basically extracting data from the Twitter and storing that onto the local file. Also, we are doing some basic transformation, converting that data into the data frame. Second step is to start working onto the actual thing, that is Airflow. So the second step in this particular project was to create the EC2 instance, that is the online machine, and deploy our Airflow on that. So let's go start with that. So the first step in this case is to log into your AWS account and go to the EC2. So once you open the EC2, just click on to launch. Make sure the region you selected is nearby your location. So if you are living in US, you can select one of the region from there. If you are living in India, you can select the Mumbai region. If you are living somewhere else in Europe, so you can select the region according to your location. So that will be much faster for you. Click on to the launch instance. Let's give our instance name as Airflow test project. Okay, you can give whatever you name you want. Another thing you need to make sure is click onto the Ubuntu. Now instance type, you can keep T2 micro as it is. If you are into the free trial, if you are using the free version, this should work. I guess there are some basic requirements for the Airflow, so I'm gonna go with the T3 medium that has like the 4 GB and the 2 CPU, but you can go with the free tier version. If that doesn't work for you, then try changing the instance type and try it, but it should work. In my case, I'm just going to go with the T3 medium. You will get charged if you use the T3 medium, so make sure if you're okay with that, then go for it. But I will still suggest you to go with this T2 micro if you want to stay inside the free tier. But in this case, I will go with the T3 medium. Then what you need to do is need to create the key. This key pair is how you will access the EC2 instance. So click on to the create new key pair. Just give whatever the key you want to give. It's like the Airflow EC2 key. Okay, make sure you click on to create pair, keep everything as it is, and it will download the key. So this is downloaded onto my downloads folder. I'm going to copy this key and store it onto our Airflow project. So let me just copy this into the Airflow. Okay, I have my key stored onto our folder. So after you get your key, you need to make sure you allow the HTTPS and HTTP traffic just for the safer side. So click on both of this topic, and you can just click on to the launch instance, and it will create the EC2 instance for you. So this will take around like 1 to 2 minutes to create the instance, and once the instance is ready, we will continue with this. So once you have the instance state as running, that means your instance is ready and you can move forward. So now what we need to do, we need to connect to this instance and deploy our Airflow on that. So we'll be installing Airflow onto this EC2 instance. So we need to connect to it. So all you need to do is select this instance, click on to connect. We will be using SSH client for that connection. So this is one example the AWS automatically generates for you. Click copy over here. So once you copy the SSH command, all you need to do is go to your terminal, paste it over here. So make sure you are at the folder where your key is stored that you downloaded earlier. Just gonna click SSH. So if you see something like this Ubuntu, that means you are connected to our EC2 machine. Now the next step is to install bunch of packages and update the files. So the first step is to update the package. So these are all of the commands we want to run. I will put the document link in the description so you can get access to it. So sudo apt update. This basically updates all of the files available into the Ubuntu machine. So this will update it. If it asks you to write yes, you just need to write yes and just hit the enter. Second is we need to install the Python 3 version onto this Ubuntu machine. Once you do that, you should be able to go ahead. Then third is sudo apt install Apache Airflow. This is where we'll be installing the Airflow version onto our EC2 machine. So this will install all of the required packages needed by Apache Airflow. So once the Apache Airflow is installed, then we need to install all of the same packages that we installed on our local machine. Sudo install pandas. Sudo pip install pandas will install the pandas package. Then we have s3fs, so we also need to install that. So I'm just going to run these commands and install all of this package. So once you run all of the commands, and if you are able to successfully install all of this package, then what you need to do, let's just clear this. So you can just write clear to clear the entire screen. That will make things look much easier to understand. Then just write Airflow to see if the Airflow is actually installed. So if you see something like this, that means your Airflow is installed. Now to run Airflow server, you just need to write Airflow stand alone. Okay, this is the command that is being used to run the entire Airflow server. So I'm just going to run that, and this will start running our Airflow server. So it is launching Airflow server right now. Now once the Airflow is ready, if you see this, so make sure you copy the username and the admin password that is being provided over here, because you won't be able to see it again. So once you are able to see the Airflow is ready, and once you are able to see the admin password, all you need to do is go to your instance, copy this public DNS. This is available onto AWS. Just put it on your browser. Let me see if you guys can see it. Let me just, okay. So just put it on the tab of your browser and just write 8080, because Airflow is running onto the 8080 port. And let's just see if we can access the Airflow server or not. Okay, so we are not able to connect to the Airflow server. What might be the reason? So once you paste the EC2 instance path and 8080 port, and if you are not able to see the Airflow console, that means there is some security issues we have right now. So all you need to do is go to your instance ID and just scroll down, and you should be able to see the security groups into the security section. just click onto this security group. So security group is basically if you want to allow some IP to have the access to some kind of protocol, that you can do that. In this case, just click onto the edit inbound rules, just click on to add rules, and all you can for the sake of the tutorial, just write all traffic, and you can click on to my IP or just write the IP for anywhere and just save the rules. Now this is not the best practice, you should not do this, but again we are just focusing on the tutorial and we are just trying to get the project done as fast as possible, so that you can understand how this process works. So you should not do this into the actual production code, but this is just tutorial, so I will just suggest you to go with the all traffic, and you should be able to access this particular thing automatically if you edit the inbound rules. Now this is our Airflow console, so this is what it looks like. Now all you need to do over here is copy the initial admin username that you got and the password you got from the console we have, and just click on to sign in. So this is what the Airflow console actually looks like. This is, you will see the DAG security browser admin. This is the actual Airflow console. Okay. If you go to this terminal, you will see a lot of different requests being sent over here because we are trying to access this. So the server is running onto this machine, so that is the reason we are able to access this Airflow. So congratulations. So if you see this, that means you are able to install the Airflow onto your machine. So in the start of this tutorial, we already understood the concept about DAGs and the task inside the Airflow, so we won't be going into that. We will be just understanding the actual code that we want to write. So now let's start writing our DAG into the Python code. So the first thing we want to do is we want to convert this entire thing into the function, because we should be able to access it. So what we will do into our ETL code is we will be creating one function, and the function name will be run ETL. Just start this and select this entire thing and just hit the tab. Okay, so you should be able to properly indent these things inside this function. Now this is the basics of Python. Again, I suggest you, if you don't know about Python, go and understand the Python. So all we did is basically we just copied this entire code and put that into the function. Let me just zoom out so that you guys can see it. As you can see over here, we have this entire code that we written for the Twitter ETL, and this is now inside the function. This is run ETL. So we have copied our entire code into one function, so we can easily access this particular function from our DAG. So now we will be creating our actual Twitter DAG. So all you need to do is click onto the new file. Just give this file as twitter_dag.py. Okay, so this is the DAG file. Now we will just start importing some of the packages we need. So these are some of the packages we need. So this is the date and time. So time delta, you will understand why we imported these packages. Then we are importing DAG function from the Airflow. We also need the Python operator. The Python operator is used to work with the Python data. So we already understood the Python operator in the start of the tutorial, and then we have like datetime function and other packages. So if you want to understand more about these packages, you can just research about it. Then what we need to do, we need to import this particular function into our DAG. So for that, what all you have to do is from this file name Twitter_ETL import the function name. The function name is run Twitter ETL. This will import this entire function, okay, inside this DAG Twitter file. So this will do that, and you should be able to see this when we actually work with that. So now we need to actually define some of the parameters that are required for the DAG. So we already understood about all of these functionalities. This is like basically the owner, the start date, the email. You can define all of the different arguments you want to give in your DAG like this. So once you have your default argument, all you need to do is create the DAG. Now creating the DAG is pretty simple. All you need to do is write DAG. So the function that we imported, this is your DAG name that will be shown onto the UI. We will see that, and we're just going to provide the default arguments that we created and the description. So this is how you initially create the DAG, and then after that we will be using our Python operator to run this DAG. So that basically means the Python operator that we install. This is the Python operator. So this is the Python operator that we install. So give your task ID as complete Twitter. It can be anything, whatever you want to keep. The important thing over here is the Python callable. So which function you want to call. So in this case, we imported one function which is run Twitter ETL from the Twitter ETL file. So make sure you Python callable is your Twitter function, and your DAG is the DAG that you created over here. and at the end all you need to write is run etl. Now if you don't understand this, you can ask a lot of questions into the comment section, and you can read documentation, and I will provide some of the tutorial links too. But this is how you create the basic DAG onto the Airflow. Now one more thing we want to do is we want to save our this data frame onto the S3 bucket. So for that we will need to create one S3 bucket. So all you have to do is go through your S3 console, just open the link over here. I'm just going to open it onto the new folder. So as you can see it over here. Okay, so just create the bucket. If you don't have the bucket, I'm just going to write my name, Darshil Airflow YouTube bucket. Now this S3 bucket is globally unique, so you won't be able to copy this name. So just write your name over here to make it unique, and just keep everything as it is, and just click onto the create bucket. Okay, so I can't use the underscore. I forgot I need to use the hyphen. Okay, you can't use underscore or you can't use spaces in between. Just click onto create bucket and you should be able to create bucket automatically. Now where is my bucket? Let me just write Darshil. Okay, as you can see, this is my bucket. So if you want to store our data onto S3, all you have to do is write something like this. Okay, let's keep it as it is, S3 : / your bucket name / your file name. So this will store our the actual the file that we created onto S3 bucket like this. So after you make these two changes, then we need to actually deploy these codes onto the Airflow. So make sure you have these two things ready, and hopefully this runs onto the first try. If it doesn't run, we will face some errors, but facing error is good. It will help you to learn a lot of things. So let's just copy this. So we already have our server running onto one terminal. So all you have to do is just open the new terminal. So I'm just going to click onto new window, and I'm going to again go repeat the same process, that is make connection with the EC2 instance. Let me just go to my folder documents / my Airflow project. So as you can see, we have our private key over here. You need to go to the EC2 again to copy the connection string. So this is our SSH client connection. Just copy it, paste it, and you should be able to create the connection. Now at this stage of the tutorial, it should be pretty easy to make the connection. So this is how we actually create the connection. Now we need to make few changes onto the Airflow. So if you do the ls over here, you should be able to see the Airflow folder. So just do cd airflow, and inside the Airflow folder you should be able to see one file that is called as airflow.chv. So write sudo nano airflow.cfg, and we will be changing one thing over here. Is basically instead of dags, okay, we will be writing Twitter_dags. So this is the one change we want to make into this. Don't make any other changes. Then click on to Control X and make sure you save this before. So it is asking you to yes, save this modifier buffer. Click on Y and click on enter. So it will save this. If you go again, do the sudo nano, you should be able to see the changes over here. So make sure you change it to proper path, because we will be creating the new folder into our bucket. So let me just clear the screen, and we will create one new folder which is mkdir to create the new folder Twitter_dags. This is where we want to store all of our Python files. So if I do ls, you should be able to see Twitter dags. So this is the same folder, same folder name that is being stored onto the Airflow CFG file. So make sure you change according to that. And now what we want to do is do cd into the Twitter DAG that we just created. So we currently have two files. One is our Twitter DAG file and one is our ETL file. We want to copy that and store it onto this EC2 machine, because we currently have all of those files onto our local computer. So let me just, all you need to do is copy this. So this is our first DAG file. So let me just write nano. Make sure you write sudo nano just to make sure it is a super user, and then write the Twitter_dag.py. This will create the new file, and make sure you just paste it. So this is the entire file from my local computer being copied onto the EC2 machine. Click on to Control X, save it. Okay, if you do if you do the ls, you should be able to see the Twitter DAG file. Repeat the same procedure for the ETL file, sudo nano Twitter underscore etl.py. Click enter. I'm just going to copy this ETL file that I copied and paste it over here, and just write Control X, yes, and save it. So at the end of this, you should be able to copy these two files from your local computer to the EC2 machine. So now we can run this. So let's go to our Airflow now. Okay, so we understood a lot of things. This is our Airflow. So we are still not able to see the actual tags onto our Airflow UI. So there might be some problem. Let's check it. Okay, the first thing we have over here is the Twitter tag. That looks good. But let me just open our Airflow CHG file and let me see what is happening over there. So our folder name is Twitter underscore DAG tag, and inside this we have DAGs. Okay, so we need to change DAGs. So we need to remove S from this particular path and just write as it is. So this should fix the error. So make sure the name of your folder and the path that is you assigned in the CFG file is the same. If that is not same, then you won't be able to see the DAG over here. And after you make that changes, all you need to do is stop the Airflow server. For that, you can just write the Control C and it will shut down the entire Airflow server as it is. Again, this is the development server, so we don't worry about these things right now. And all you have to do is again run the command Airflow standalone. So you just stop the server and you ran the server again to key to get the changes according to that. So once you restart your Airflow server, you should be able to see the count increase. So initially it was 32, now it is 33. So we're just gonna be clicking over here, and this is our code. This is the code that we have written inside our Airflow initially. And if you want to run this, all you have to do is click on to graph and just click on to this run, click on to this Twitter DAG, and it will run this. Now there are multiple scenarios into the Airflow. That is how it runs. So these are the different statuses that we already discussed. So if you see green, that basically means it is running. Then if you see this brown, that is it is queued. If you see yellow, that means it is retrying this code to run again and again till it succeeds. And at the end, if you see the red, that basically means it is failed. So currently we are just seeing yellow. So we want to understand what is really happening inside the code. So I'm just going to click onto this and go to logs and see the errors we are getting. So inside this error, the error is when calling the create bucket operation, access denied. So we don't have the permission to write from this Airflow, from this EC2 machine to the S3 bucket. So we need to make sure from the EC2 we have access permission to write it onto the S3 bucket. So for that you need to go to your EC2 machine. So make sure you click onto your EC2 bucket, and over here you need to click onto the action, click onto the security, and click onto the modify IAM role. Now, so we will have to create the IAM role. It basically means you are giving access to the EC2 machine to make changes to the S3 bucket based on the permission you provide inside the role. So click onto this create IAM role. So it will go to the actual IAM service that is available onto the EC2 that is available onto the AWS. Click onto the create role, keep AWS service, click onto the EC2 over here, click onto next. Over here just write S3 and you should be able to get this S3 full access. Just select this. After that write EC2 and just give EC2 full access. So we're going to be giving two accesses. One is S3 full access and EC2 full access. Click on to next. Give this name as EC2 S3 Airflow role. Okay. And just click on to the create role. It should create the new role for you. And if you go back over here, if you refresh this onto the EC2 machine, you will be able to see EC2 S3 Airflow role. Just update the IAM role over here, and this should give the permission to EC2 to access the S3 bucket. Now we're going to be running this code again. So if you see the green mark, that means your code is done. You can just click onto logs and see the logs over here. That means, so if the info is done and if you see the mark the task as a success, that means your code has run successfully. Just to validate that, you can go to the S3 bucket and refresh your bucket and see if you got the data over here or not. So that means we got the data. You can click this data and download this data and check whether we actually got the results. So as we can see, we got the tweets as it is we got on the local machine, but this time we were able to run our code from the Airflow. So this is how the basic Airflow you can run. This is how you get started with the Airflow. This was the basic tutorial, and this was the first tutorial on the Airflow. I just wanted you guys to understand these things from the high level. In the future videos, I will create the dedicated videos onto Airflow. This video was more about building the data pipeline from the Twitter to storing our data onto S3 bucket using Airflow. I will create some other tutorials where we will deep dive into Airflow topics and try to understand how Airflow UI works and all the other things. So first of all, congratulations on completing this particular project. I hope you learned something new in this particular project, and if you did, then make sure you hit the like button. Now if you are stuck in some error and if you did not understand any concept, you can comment it out or you can join the Discord channel to discuss more about it. And again, if you are new here, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more of this kind of content. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.